Black Sheep, Episode 4. Black Sheep, Knowing Your Worth. Or, as some might call it, how many people learn to stop worrying and love their resignation letter. Welcome to Black Sheep, where sometimes the most powerful thing anyone can do isn't climbing higher, it's walking away. The emotional toll of assimilation. Let's examine the cost, the real, soul deep cost of constantly performing, constantly filtering, constantly being on guard in professional spaces. Picture this scenario: waking up 2 hours before the alarm just to stare at the ceiling and gather strength for another day of being the acceptable version of oneself. Rehearsing conversations, strategizing which battles are worth fighting, calculating how much authentic voice one can use before someone gets uncomfortable. The body keeps score. It remembers the microaggressions swallowed with morning coffee. It remembers the rage transformed into constructive feedback. It remembers every time someone said, "I'm fine," when they were anything but fine. The headaches start first, then the insomnia, then the Sunday night panic attacks, then the mysterious autoimmune issues that doctors can't quite diagnose, the body whispering what the mind isn't ready to admit. This environment is toxic. Many end up questioning if they even belong, and that's exactly what these systems want. That's the insidious genius of these structures. They make people believe their body's natural response to toxicity is actually their failure to adapt. Can anyone relate to this scenario? Picture someone sitting in their car in the parking garage, unable to make themselves walk into the building, just sitting there, hands on the wheel, trying to breathe, trying to remember who they were before they started shrinking themselves to fit into spaces that were never designed for their expansion. That constant assimilation becomes a form of violence against oneself. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. It's a slow erosion of spirit, a quiet dimming of light. Consider what orientation programs don't tell you: no promotion, no corner office, no six-figure salary is worth the cost of mental health. No amount of external success can compensate for internal suffering. Because at the end of the day, dignity can't be deposited in a 401k. Corporate realities. Let's address one of the greatest corporate myths of all time. Human resources exist to help employees. Here's what might save some heartache: HR exists to protect the company from employees, not to protect employees from the company. When someone goes to HR about inappropriate comments from a manager, the response they receive might be documented differently than expected. The inappropriate comments get passed over for projects that went to less qualified colleagues. The blatant pay disparity gets discovered during a casual conversation. Documentation of dates, times, witnesses, receipts, as people are trained to do. Then comes the translation. We need to be mindful of perception. The same institution that made people sit through diversity trainings where they preached speaking up and zero tolerance was now suggesting they were the problem. This represents the betrayal that cuts deepest, because people believed the system when it said, "trust the process." They believed when HR said, "we value your voice." They did everything by the book, their book, and still ended up being characterized as difficult or not a team player. The gaslighting becomes real. Did they really say that? Am I overreacting? Maybe I did misunderstand. Number trust experience, trust instincts, trust the goosebumps that rise when someone crosses a line, even if they're smiling while they do it. Because here's the truth they don't want anyone to know: HR's primary function is risk management. And sometimes it's less risky for them to lose one person than to hold accountable someone with more power, more connections, or more value to their bottom line. This isn't about being cynical. This is about being strategic, about understanding the true nature of the system so people can protect themselves accordingly. Survival tactics. So, how does someone survive until their exit plan comes together? How do they maintain sanity in spaces designed to make them question it? Welcome to what we might call corporate therapy, the unofficial survival guide they don't hand out at orientation. First, sometimes the only thing standing between someone and telling their boss exactly what they think of their constructive feedback is a chocolate chip cookie from the third floor vending machine. Many people maintain a secret stash of emergency snacks in their desk drawer, like a squirrel preparing for the winter of discontent. Comfort food becomes ritual, a moment of pleasure in days filled with performance. Then there's the work family, not the forced team building family, but the real one, the colleague who gives the look across the conference room when someone says something inappropriate, the work ally who meets them in the bathroom to let them vent for exactly 3 minutes before they both have to return to the meeting, the ally who speaks up when they're talked over. Find these people, cherish these people, build a coalition of the sane within the circus of corporate politics. And then there's the Rage playlist, that carefully curated collection of songs that remind people who they are when the world is trying to make them forget. Music collections might include everything from Nina Simone to Megan Thee Stallion, from gospel to gangsta rap. Music that speaks to every facet of experience: anger, power, joy, resistance. People put in headphones during lunch, close their eyes, and remember that they existed beyond their employee ID number, that they had ancestry and purpose and a life waiting for them outside those walls. Here's another survival tactic they don't tell people about: strategic bathroom breaks. 5 minutes of peace in a single occupancy restroom where they can breathe, cry, or silently scream, or practice what they're going to say in the next meeting. Those 5 minutes can save sanity and someone else's job. But understand this: these are bandages, not cures. They help people survive the day to day, but they don't heal the underlying wound. For that, sometimes walking away becomes necessary. Exit plans and freedom. There comes a point when people realize that no amount of adaptation can fix a system that was never broken. It was built this way on purpose. And that realization, that's liberation. Whether someone is calculating their exit or being shown the door, either way, it's freedom. But there's power in choosing. The greatest power move is walking away on one's own terms. Consider this example. After working at a third corporate job for 4 years, surviving two reorganizations, training three different managers who were brought in despite qualifications, watching mediocrity get rewarded while excellence got overlooked. One Tuesday morning, someone walks into their boss's office with a letter, not a long, emotional letter detailing every grievance, though they'd written that one too, just never sent it. No, this was short, professional, and final. Please accept this as formal notice of resignation, effective 2 weeks from today. The look on their face, priceless, because they expected endurance. They expected gratitude for scraps. What they don't expect is for people to know their worth and act accordingly. Some might think, but what about financial security? What about benefits? What about bills? These are valid concerns, but here's what needs to be remembered. Start planning exit strategies today. Start building skills, savings, side hustles, networks. Start imagining a life where Sunday evenings don't fill people with dread. Start believing that there are workplaces that will value their whole self, not just the parts that make others comfortable. And if that place doesn't exist, create it. Because the same creativity and resilience that helped people navigate hostile corporate environments are exactly the qualities that make successful entrepreneurs. Some people weren't meant to fit into someone else's structure. Some weren't meant to climb ladders. They were meant to build elevators that bring others up with them. It's not about giving up. It's about necessity for health, for sanity, for the soul. And here's what they don't tell people about leaving: the world doesn't end, identity doesn't evaporate, worth doesn't diminish. In fact, often it's only after leaving that people realize how much of themselves they left behind in those corridors, how much energy they spent dimming their light so others wouldn't feel intimidated by their shine. Final voice note: people may have to leave the boardroom for the throne. That's the short version of a long, complicated, beautiful, painful journey from corporate conformity to sovereign self, from climbing someone else's ladder to building their own castle. And the view from here, it's worth every tear, every doubt, every moment of fear. Because here's what becomes clear: the crown was never theirs to give, it was always yours. People were born with it. They just forgot for a while because others convinced them that their validation was more valuable than their vision. To every person still navigating those corporate corridors, you are seen. Your hustle is honored. Your resilience is respected. And whether you stay or go, your worth is not tied to that place. Your brilliance doesn't need their recognition to be real. Some will transform those institutions from within, using power and position to create space for others like them. Some will walk away and create something entirely new, something revolutionary. Both paths require courage. Both paths matter. But remember this: no one was ever the problem. They were never too much, too loud, too ambitious, too different. The system was simply too small, too rigid, too afraid of the change they represent. If this resonates in your spirit, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, Substack at Elleraine en moi, and on Facebook and LinkedIn as Alice D. Clayton /Queen B /Empress Queen